could even cut him.
Why do you say that?
Because his outputs.
No.
I'm just saying.
No. Alright, today we're going to be talking about Maki versus Ryu, and obviously in the poll, the Maki fans came to show out. So obviously, Kaiyo will be defending his boy Ryu, and regardless of my personal opinion, I'll be defending Maki today. And obviously, make sure to go check out Kaiyo. He does a lot of great JJK content, and his channel will be in the link in the description. But let's start off with Maki versus Ryu. And first, how do you want to scale your boy Ryu? Because you've been very prevalent on obviously saying Ryu will win.
I mean, we're like base to base, hand to hand. Ryu bodies Maki pretty badly. It's not even close. I'm not even gonna lie. Like a punch from Ryu would probably send Maki flying. She could heal, but it takes too long. And then the only thing she's got going for him is the ability to like move around by grabbing the air. You know, I think we were talking about that, right? We were talking about before, right? How maybe she could actually like, she's not faster than him, but with that ability, she could like dodge him, or I guess be faster by grabbing the air.
So, since I'm defending Maki, I'm going to say that she's actually faster for a few reasons. So first, we'll talk about with human Naoya being somewhat relative to Naruto, who's the second fastest sorcerer behind Gojo. And what we can infer from the, obviously, Maki economy, the current Curse Room Naoya is much faster than that human Naoya, and he was at least able to keep up with projection sorcery Naoya before she freefalled in the building, meaning that Maki potentially is more likely to be faster than YUTA. But what do you think in that regard?
Alright, so Blzkn, man, you just triggered me and you said the Y word, YUTA, so you know, I gotta go into full YUTA slander.
Slander
right
YUTA. Right,
yeah, I gotta go into that YUTA slander. So the thing is, not only does Ishigori, I think we can all agree, Ryu far classes YUTA in terms of physical, that's like combat, so he's just far stronger than him. A punch from him would just demolish YUTA, it's not even a question. And it's crazy because after YUTA gets bodied by Ishigori in base, he doesn't even try to challenge him again in terms of hand to hand. And it's always Rika. And thanks to Blzkn, actually just quickly look through that. Yeah, it's just disrespectful because the only time YUTA can match Ishigori is when, after the domain expansion, Ishigori is low on cursed energy. He's used his domain, he's been spamming Grante Blast, so he's low on that. He then proceeds to get hit by a point-blank Thin Ice Missile, which he didn't even see coming. And then he proceeds to get punched by Rika after that. So like 2 hits at the same time, so he couldn't defend against the punch. He still not only does he one-shot Rika. The point being, he's on Death's Door, so he's very low HP, and he's out of cursed energy pretty much, so he has pretty much none left. YUTA, who even though Rika just left, he still has 100% cursed energy, let's say 90 or 100% cursed energy, and he's obviously healed up, because he's spamming his reverse curse technique as Rika was out. They are only, and this is the only time that even hand to hand, is when Ishigori is near death and there's no cursed energy, and Yuta's fully healed up and has cursed energy. And only then are they even hand to hand. And YUTA doesn't even beat him like that. It's very clever, I'll give him that. He throws the blast upwards and it hits him. But I'm just saying, man, that's kind of pathetic from YUTA. I can't lie. Well, okay, that's taking it too far. That's a harsh one. But, you know.
Oh my goodness, you're gonna get me dislikes for this YUTA slander, man.
Hey, listen, if you guys check out my YouTube, just dislike that video, bro. Don't dislike this one. Blzkn's on YUTA's side. I mean, this is not his fault. It's not his fault.
Okay, so you said a lot of stuff. Alright, in defense of quick YUTA, he obviously was not trying to kill Ryu, so you know, he was trying to approach the fight a little differently. But you made a lot of good points, and you obviously, if we go back to this in terms of Maki, you're trying to say that he has enough power to obviously send Maki flying. Now, to defend Maki, she obviously having heavily restriction, and if we obviously compare it to somebody such as Toji, he was obviously able to survive red from an awakened Gojo. We also saw Maki eventually being able to survive Mark 3 hit from Naoya, and this being things of huge damage, maybe she would not be able to get sent flying from the hit and would have enough durability. However, I think even the durability argument between both of them is kind of subjective, because we saw how many times did he get hit by his own Granate Blaster, multiple hits from Rika, even hits from Uro. So I think in terms of durability can go either way who you think is more durable. But you made some good things, and you said that the hand-to-hand combat would be far outclassed. Well, too, in defense of Maki, she is a combat genius, and we've seen in multiple indications her, even if she might not necessarily be stronger, can use things such as parries and feints, even splits, to be able to dodge and highlight different things to make up the difference. So in terms of that regard, just because of her combat prowess, she might be able to make the difference between maybe someone who hits much harder. But what do you think in that regard?
Okay, so I know Maki is like, obviously, one of my favorite characters. I defend Maki, but listen, I gotta take the queen down today. So, the thing is, remember how she was fighting Naoya? She mostly healed, but not fully, right? This is actually a pretty interesting fact. While she was in the Kappa's simple domain, obviously because hours had passed in there, she 100% healed, like fully up. So the Maki that we see fighting Naoya again is one that's
healed one.
Yeah, fully healed, and then Naoya, you know, obviously he's like fighting like multiple guys. And the whole fight was like brutal. Naoya's fighting like 4 or 5 people. Maki healed up as well, and even then, like she only wins because she counters him. So I don't want to disrespect Maki. I hate to do this, but what I mean to say is like if a Mach 3 hit is doing that, I genuinely think a Grante Blast. Bro, I don't know that.
And now that comes to the question, no, because you're going to say Granate Blaster can probably, obviously, pretty much put her on Brink's death or pretty much to end the match. But will she get hit by the respective Granate Blast? First, we see in the first indication when Ryu and YUTA begin to fight, when obviously Ryu can make them into smaller beams, we see that YUTA goes and makes like a cave and then sneaks up behind them. Now we know, for example, with Maki having Heavenly Restriction, it's going to be much difficult for her to be tracked with the fact that she has no curse energy. However, the thing that counteracts that is obviously she has the sword, meaning that Ryu could potentially find the traces of the sword to be able to. But if he couldn't, for example, find out where YUTA was coming from, I think someone who has pretty much 0 curse energy, it will be far more difficult for her to obviously find a location if she does use the environment to move away and run away and etc. So in that regard, I think she has the potential of surprise attacks to overpower him. And because we know that the blade, and with him not having RCT, and it obviously negates defense and goes straight for the soul, it's pretty much a close to one-shot hit that it could potentially put Ryu in a more dangerous situation. But what do you think?
Actually, that was a pretty interesting thing. We actually talked about this before the video. How the thing that I thought about the blade was, it's pretty interesting because even though the blade may have one-shot capabilities, because it damages the soul, right? It is possible that Ryu just wouldn't let it hit him regardless. Because the thing is, Ryu Ishigori doesn't have reverse curse technique. So, like, regardless of if it's a soul special sword or if it's just a regular sword, he probably assume it's like a cursed sword, because that's what everyone assumes, right? Because he doesn't have reverse curse technique, I think he's going to be extremely on guard anyway because he can't heal. And he wouldn't let that cut. And then it's a question of, this is crazy.
Before you get to that question, let me quickly say why he probably will let the sword. Because he's been unsatisfied, he'll more likely want to see what the person can do, and he could potentially be unfortunately surprised with the fact that it's a one-shot sword. Or what do you think?
I don't think the thing about Ishigori is that he's not like certain other characters, like let's say Kenpachi. He does want like a massive fight, or like a great fight, but he doesn't care about it being fair. He doesn't care about like fighting someone at their max or anything like that. So the evidence is like obviously he hits Uro off guard, Kuroshi off guard, he beats them both off guard like that. And he also starts the fight off by hitting them off guard. So it's not that he doesn't have honor. But I don't think he's the type of guy who's going to be like, I want to see your max, or I want to see how strong you are, like this is. I think he's like, he wants a great fight. Again, this is like your interpretation of his character though, because I know like 100%. Some people may disagree. But the thing I was going to say before is like, could it even cut him?
Why do you say that?
Because his outputs.
No.
I'm just saying.
No. Nah.
I'm going crazy with that. But maybe. I'm just saying. Maybe.
This is like the Kashimo lightning all over again. Nah. We're not doing this.
Bro,
listen.
Maybe.
The lightning's packing him up. The sword is packing him up. He's getting done out.
Maybe not. Well, to be fair, because she can see the soul. Because it does more damage, right? I guess so, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So now, obviously, one thing that goes to a big advantage to Maki is the domain expansion. Because what we're going to assume, of course, we haven't seen Ryu's domain. But my assumption with his curse technique being Granate Blaster, and it seems as if his domain is more likely to be a sure hit effect. But then Maki will obviously be able to sneak in and out of the barriers, meaning it'll be very difficult for Ryu, and he can catch him off guard and potentially kill her. So I think that is one of the biggest win cons for obviously Maki. But what do you think in that regard with the domain?
I completely agree. Actually, I think it's the only win con. I know it's crazy, but I actually think it's the only win con. The thing is, before I even get into that win con, I don't think it would come to that point.
Okay.
Maybe it could. Like, if she's dodging him too much, it could be. But I don't think she's going to do enough damage or pressure him enough to force him to use a domain. I think in base he beats her. But let's say he does use it. For whatever reason, maybe Maki's like pressuring him a lot. You know, it's not like Maki has Daido and Mio and Naoya and Kamo, to back him up. Just saying. You know, it's just sorry about that disrespect, but activist domain. I completely agree with you. She's probably just gonna come in from behind because he can't recognize her because she's invisible, and just stab him in the back. And the thing is, like, he can't heal. Yeah, it's pretty clean because like the issue is like. It's soul damage as well. It's just going to be like instant death. He can't heal from it.
100%.
No,
I 100% agree. And now, this is going to be my final major buff for Maki. When it comes to the Granate Blaster, after the multiple hits that Uru take, and I don't believe we believe Uru is more durable than Maki, she still manages to survive. Of course, that brings death, but she still manages to survive. Meaning, somebody who I believe is far more durable potentially she could tank the Granate Blaster, potentially.
Well, here's the thing though. So there's two reasons why I disagree with that statement.
Okay.
So the first one is Ishigori himself, after the fight, says it was weaker because of the domain. So he says like the blast was weaker after the domain expansion or it would have killed her. So he says that's the YUTA.
Right.
That's the first thing. But the second thing is, I got the Ryu receipts, man. I gotta defend my boy. The second thing is, even if it didn't kill her, like, Udo is still, like, a special grade level combatant, like, easily.
100%.
And the fact that one hit, this is the thing, it's not like she was never hit by a Granate Blast before this. This was the first one. All the other ones she deflected. The first time she gets hit by this, not only does it knock her out, and like you said, she's on death's door, she's missing a limb. She's missing an arm. And like Lord knows, had it not been after the domain, so it had been like a true one, as in his own words, that would have just killed her.
Okay, but let me defend Uro in that regard. Obviously, she was on death's brink, so she had got her arm pretty much cut up by Kurorushi. She had gone through some previous boxing lessons with Rika and Yuta, who were tag teaming. So I feel like she had taken a lot of damage accumulation and managed to still, even if we're saying it's not as strong as the original Granate Blaster, at least not die to the extent that potentially someone as Maki, who I'm going to assume is more durable, obviously there is not enough evidence to support due to the lack of fights, that she could survive something such as that. Now I want to ask you something to boost the durability, because obviously Maki and Toji are the same. How would you rank post-awakened Gojo's red as a beam compared to somebody such as Granate Blaster?
I guess I don't think it compares at all, because the red is something he not only just unlocked, but his reverse curse technique. The thing is, Gojo in general, his reverse curse technique isn't that impressive. Even after like 10 years, he still can't heal other people, and obviously the red depends on his reverse curse technique. I'm not saying his red is weak, I'm just saying the fact that he just got his reverse curse technique, and he just unlocked red. That's probably why it didn't do that much damage. And the thing about like red is, unlike the Granate Blast, which is a blast that like it's true damage, like it will actually like rip you apart and it will just destroy you, it'll disintegrate you.
Yeah, it was flooring buildings, so yeah, obviously,
yeah. The red is like, it's less of an like how do I say this? It's less of a destructive attack. It is destructive, but it's more of a concussive shockwave, because it's in his own Gojo's own words, it's repel. So he's like pushing someone back, and it's like a massive shockwave. So I just think it's a different type of attack is the issue, though it looks the same because of how it's drawn.
Interesting. Okay.
One thing I want to say about the Udo thing, alright, just she's durable as fuck though, because like she took all those hits from like Rika and like what's the name? Yuta with the
Rika,
the gauntlets.
Yep, with the gauntlet as well, the steel arms. Yep.
Yeah, and like Rika. So I'm just saying the fact that it wasn't even a full powered blast from Ishigori, I don't know, man.
But I think that if anything boosts Maki and Toji, who are supposed to be the most physically durable people we've seen in the series. Supposedly. We don't obviously know the full extent because we haven't seen them being pushed against other people on their similar level. So I think that is where the biggest misconception regard. But in terms of what Heavenly Restriction, it's supposed to give you a body of complete like peak nature, etc. So that's why I'm inclined, based on narrative implications, that they'll be durable than someone as Uru, who's even very durable as well. So that's where I kind of lean toward.
Output translates into durability. So I do think Ishigori is more durable. But, bro, Kashimo is way more durable. He's way more durable than these men.
I disagree.
I gotta say, man, especially like Gojo as well. I mean, I guess that's.
I mean, Gojo has hacks. You know, he has infinity, so he doesn't really need to care about getting touch anyway.
I know. I mean, even without the infinity,
okay.
I mean hand to hand.
I haven't seen Gojo really get touched. So I have no idea.
Remember he turned it off in Shibuya.
What? With?
So it's like it's hand to hand, with Jogo and.
Oh yeah. I mean, he was bodied, but I mean, those are bums. So compared to Gojo,
they had domain amplification. Though.
Yeah.
So
but Gojo,
regardless, it's fine. We can agree to disagree.
Yeah.
But it is tough though, because the last thing I'll say, it's just so weird, because doesn't that mean that the Mark III hit from Naoya was more stronger than Gojo's red as well?
I can't quantify it. That's the issue. I can't tell you. Listen, in terms of damage, it potentially should, but obviously.
Again, I guess because he's not good at reverse cast technique. He just got it. The red is like a repel attack. Maybe that's just why.
I don't know, man. I can't even say.
Yeah,
that's
feels
the
weird
issue.
Saying that.
You see, obviously, as we're debating this, the issue is we have not seen enough of these individuals that is just based on the obviously matchups that they have. Obviously, in JJK, matchups matter a lot, but in this situation, we've seen Ryu go against Uro and YUTA, who's far stronger than anybody the previous people we have seen, unless you scale Team Gojo much higher now based on the event of Toji and Maki, which I know some people do. So then it really depends on how much you think that damage could be done to them, and I think it just comes down to interpretation. But when we get to more of the conclusion points, and do you have anything else you want to talk about in regards to Ryu winning?
I generally, man, in terms of speed, I don't think she can, in general, keep up with him. But again, being able to see the air, grab onto the air, that would help. But she's not damaging him, I think. He's just too strong physically. Again, I agree. I guess with the win con that you said, the only win con I believe that she has, the domain thing. So if she can just catch him off guard at the domain. Other than that, I think he beats her in base.
Okay. I'll give Maki more win cons for that. However, I do believe Ryu wins, so it is what it is.
He's the GOAT, man. Undefeated in his era.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's undefeated in his era. There are pretty things that could potentially see as a better indication. But similarly, this is because obviously Maki hasn't shown us enough against other fighters. I don't think Naoya is stronger than Ryu, which some people believe. So let me actually talk about that, because that will be potentially a way in which people will downplay Ryu. Do you think, obviously, Ryu versus Kursu Naoya, what would you say in terms of their strength? Because that's another avenue. It depends on your interpretation of who's stronger, will give you an indication to how you think the fight will go.
I think Ishigori dominates Naoya so badly in every aspect. I genuinely don't think it's close.
I agree as well.
Yeah, it's just brutal. The domain expansion, the physical stats, everything. He just dominates him. It's kind of brutal.
I agree. I mean, to obviously come back to Maki, I think there is some good win-con scenarios for her. And the biggest issue is we have to see more of Heavenly Restriction used, because depending on how you scale Team Gojo, it either goes higher or lower. So if you have Team Gojo much higher than what he is, then yes, I believe there's a lot more scenarios that Maki can win. But if you don't believe Team Gojo, for example, some people believe that he can lose to things like Gojo and etc. or Naoya and etc. See, so then it depends on your interpretation and how far you think you could win. Then it's just more unlikely that he's going to win in that regard. So I think at the end of the day, and to kind of conclude, we need to see more of Maki specifically, because Ryu's gone against one of the most strongest fighters, punches being strong enough to be able to one-shot Rika from the dialogue, who is physically stronger than even YUTA. Then it makes it very difficult to use any feats from obviously Maki in comparison to against somebody such as YUTA and Rika. However, like I said, she does have her one-shot sword hacks, meaning that it pretty much takes one hit from the sword for it to obviously beat Ryu. And I do believe actually Maki is faster in that regard, so then I guess speed she could potentially get into that regard. But now, how many wins would you say Ryu beats Maki in that regard then?
Oh no, this is gonna sound pretty brutal. Probably, I'll give it. I'll be a bit nice. I'll say like 80.
80. Okay. So for the sake of defending Maki, if I'm defending Maki, I say 55-45. If I think my opinion, I'll go 60-40 to keep it fair.
I mean, the thing is as well. One thing I want to say is like I even think Maki's stronger than Toji. So put Toji in there. Oh no.
I see. I still got them similar. They're the same because whatever.
That's the right take, I think. That's probably more like the correct take. That they're the same. I think Maki's slightly stronger, but it's not too.
If anything, I'll give the edge to Toji because of the crystals only. But that's it. That's the only reason.
I guess yeah, because if you give him the Playful Cloud, that would be too OP.
Playful Cloud, he has the Inverted Spirit of Heaven, and he still has a Liberation Sword as well. So,
but the Inverted Spirit of Heaven against Maki, that would just be like a regular.
Oh no, I'm not saying if they were fine. I'm just saying in general against other people.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, I was like having them head to head.
Yeah. No. I don't think we have anything else to really say. Obviously, yeah, I think that's everything. Obviously, if you got to this part of the video, make sure to go check out Kaiyo's channel. And for the YUTA slander that was shown in the video,
spitting. I might be.
I was not involved. I was not involved in any of the YUTA slander, so just know that. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Also, like, comment, share, subscribe, and yeah, that's what I got still.
Young millionaire mentality.